either people just weren't talking about them, but recently, like since the 20, like since 4 or 5 years ago, I never even heard about these things, man. Now it's like more and more and more and more people are talking about these dogmen. So what do you think they are, Tim?
Uh, they're a hybrid of some kind of human mixed with canine, but they're more animalistic. They're more canine than they are human-like because they are really, really aggressive.
They're nasty. Steve,
Yep.
what do you think?
I'm in the same boat as you. I don't really know much about them. I've done a little bit of reading, a little bit of research, and the one thing that seems to set them apart from, say, werewolves or anything else is that a lot of these other cryptids like that are known to be shapeshifters, right? And the dogmen, that's just what they are. They're these like you're saying, these bipedal dog human almost hybrids. So I don't know what the hell where they would have came from or anything like that, but they certainly sound vicious and certainly not something I want to be encountering.
No, I've never heard a cool Dogman story ever. Like, hey, it's so cool. You know what I'm saying? I've never heard that. Supposedly they're out there, but like I've yet to come across one like, oh my God, we were in trouble and the Dogman showed up and hey, chased away. No, man. That hasn't came down my way. Tim, have you ever heard of a Dogman being cool or?
No. Ohio's been known for dogman sightings since the first one that I heard of was in this area, which is only like 40 miles from me. But it's called in a town called Bucyrus. That was in the early 80s. And it was a high school ball player was out doing his evening run and was followed in the cornfield. And when he got to the crossroad and turned to go to his friend's house because he knowed something was following him as he was running down the road. And his friend lived at the crossroad, lived a couple 100 yards up that way, and his house was still over a half a mile away. So he went towards his friend's house, and he said it come out of the cornfield, and he seen it, and he said it was a werewolf-looking creature. And there's the most famous one in Ohio is in Akron, which is probably 70 miles to the east of me. Is Matt has the 412 YouTube channel and Facebook page. Matt Evern or something like it is his last name. He had that in the early 80s. I think he said he was 16 then.
Wow. That's crazy. I bet he ran that 100 yards, probably broke 4 world records breaking that sprint down there, right? You'd have seen that thing, but
he was. Yeah, he was. That was the one in Bucyrus, but the one in Akron was in an old foundry and steel mill that him and his buddies used to go over and hang out and mess around in.
Really?
At night and stuff. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, so since I started this channel, I'm convinced when I walk down the street, I'm like werewolf, dogman, lizard man. All I do is look at people, man. I'm like, yeah, I can tell. Yeah, Men in Black. Yeah, NPC, Romulan. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. All I'm doing is like, so yeah, that's all I do now is look at it. So I do a lot. We also do a lot of deep dives in here. We dive into a lot of the history aspects, and we try to usually pull, given the opportunity to prepare for a topic long enough, we come at it from different angles. We won't exchange notes. We'll do it during the show where we'll talk about what we came across. And some of these Dogman's things that we came across, Dogmen or whatever, is that I went down a couple rabbit holes about how at the end of World War II, U.S. military personnel were reporting encountering what they call dogmen or werewolves on the battlefield, right? And there is actually a forest. I want to say it's in Austria. It's called the Black Forest. I can't remember the name of it in German or Austrian or whatever the native tongue would be. But that is the first recorded werewolf story that you'll ever find about a blacksmith who was terrorizing a village. Are you familiar with this, Tim? This story?
Nope.
And they caught him, and he wolfed out, and they restrained him or whatever, and they ended up killing him or whatever. But that forest, the Black Forest, is where Hansel and Gretel was written, and all these old crazy stories were written. They originate from this area in Austria, right? And a lot of people that I've talked to, like I said, there's some facts that we can't get into. It was after World War II, Operation Paperclip happened, and we rounded up every German scientist we could get our hand on. We rounded them up, right? And that's when some people say that the United States of America Super Soldier program is the Dogman program, and we brought it back during Operation Paperclip. When we came across, we brought it back. I wasn't aware of the tunnel rat scenarios in Vietnam, but it makes perfect sense. Also, I did conversations here with another research team, Julia and Lisa, out of New Zealand and Australia, the Cryptids Women's Society, and right about the end of Vietnam or the beginning of Vietnam, they started getting Dogman reportings in Australia, literally, they started getting them down there, right? And so they some very great stories. I mean, everything in Australia will kill you. A grasshopper will carry you away and kill you in Australia, right? So that's all they would need down there. Is here, you want to talk about an aggressive Bigfoot? Go look up what a yowie is, man. Like the Australian Bigfoot. Yeah, there's no chill on those bad boys, right? So go ahead. It makes sense that they'll throw a freaking Dogman in the mix on there as well. But yeah, so that's where I also talk to people that say that, you read the book of Enoch and you get into the Watchers and the Anunnaki and, the hybridization and, the DNA splicing and mixing, that it could have been, you can't rule that out as well. But as a minimum, what we do on this show, what's that, Steve?
No.
Oh, sorry. So a minimum, what we talk about on this show is that it's something, all right? So I don't know about you, Tim, but I'm sure you do. You get your critics. If you're in the woods and you see, I don't know, 4 sets of yellow glowing eyes staring back at you, it's something. All right. Right. Yep. Right. Yeah. It's something, right? So you can't just say, oh no, it's not, that's not, it's you saw something, whether or not, and again, it's always what we talk about is that, oh, why can't you ever recover a body? And it's very simple. If you've never came across a dead deer in the forest either, because any animal that's wiped, any kill is cleaned up within 24 hours. Like I said, the possums will eat the bones at night. It'll come. It'll run full circle. Then I have to ask myself, is because maybe they've never killed a Dogman before. Like Joe Barger's the only one I've ever heard who's actually killed a Dogman. Right, he's the only one right out of Michigan, and it was attacking his truck. Right, but no one else has came forward saying, hey, they dropped it.
Now there's a guy in Ohio. I've heard him on a podcast before. He killed one that was trying to kill his brother in southern Ohio. This would have been in the mid 70s. He shot it with a 30-06. The first time he hit it, it was running at his brother. His brother had a 30-30. His brother was emptied the gun into its chest as it's running at him. And the brother that killed it was sitting like 100 feet to the side of him. They was hunting on their property, deer hunting, illegal with high-powered rifles. But that ain't the point. They was on their property.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.